this isn't a testimonial for you or for Level Up, but y'all are responsible for a lot of this success. Just what I learned from y'all and what I did implement from, being in Denver and talking to everybody and all that stuff.
In this video, I had Devan Carroll on the show where we talk about his journey from zero to $225,000 of revenue in 1 month at the age of 24. Now, Devan's journey is incredible. When he joined Level Up, he was doing about $50,000 per month. And in less than 6 months, Devan's business crossed the $200K per month mark. So he was literally able to 4X his business in less than half a year. So today we'll be diving into Devan's journey from how he went from a D1 athlete to a multi-7-figure operator. So enjoy. All right, guys. So today we got the man himself, Devan Carroll, 25 years old, grew a company from like $40K a month to you guys had your best month ever at $225,000 in wholesale real estate. Devan, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you here. It's good to see you again after a little while.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. We first met out there in Denver at your event, and it was great. Learned a lot, implemented it, and now we're chatting every week. So great to have you and happy to be on the show.
Yeah, dude, it's cool. So I guess walk me through a little bit about how you got into real estate because you're 25, well, literally just turned like a week ago. So you're like super young, just like I am. So like, what was kind of the turning point to take you down the entrepreneurship path?
Yeah, yeah. I would say young, but same age as you. I don't like to compare to the stuff you're doing, but you're my motivation, and you're the one that tells me that I can do it too. So that's a huge part of why I enjoy hanging out with you. But yeah, so just turned 25 last week. Did what every kid did, right? I did, well, number one, grew up in Brielle, New Jersey, currently living in Charleston, South Carolina, but went to college, played Division I lacrosse my freshman year, realized that wasn't for me. Cold school in Connecticut, 2-degree, 5-degree practices was pretty miserable. Said, screw that, moved down south to Clemson University, where I studied entrepreneurship. It was a business management major with an emphasis in entrepreneurship. So that's kind of where like the whole entrepreneur thing stemmed from. Then that led me to running the entrepreneurship club there in Clemson, where we basically just bring in successful alumni, have them speak, kind of give their story, and go from there, which led me to a really successful real estate developer, Steve Edwards in Clemson, just developed a lot of hotels, Walmarts, shopping centers, all that good stuff. So he was always my favorite. I didn't really understand the power of real estate at the time. So after Clemson, did what everyone did, got the degree, got the corporate job. I was working as a corporate accounting and finance consultant, basically on the staffing end. So kind of just recruiting. Did that for about 8 months, was making about 48K. So pretty comical, but that's what's normal. That's what I was supposed to do. Was in that role for, about like the 6 months. It was just, I was doing my job well, at least I thought I was, but I hated that, I could do my job perfectly. And then I pass along and then my fate is in someone else's hands and I have no control of my deal or my work coming to fruition. That was the most frustrating part. So back to, hit that point and then reach back out to Steve Edwards, a real estate guy. And he was like, hey man, you can become an agent, you can become a wholesaler, you can pay for a course, you can do all these things. So I started doing a little bit of research, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that also just, reiterated real estate, that states 90% of millionaires are due to real estate. So I was like, all right, this whole real estate thing is no joke. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. So what
Did you meet
looked around.
did you meet him through the entrepreneurship group?
Yeah, yeah. He was one of our main speakers at that group. And he's like a
Okay.
pilot and author. He's been retired for a few years now. It kind of pays to play when he wants, and he just lives a great lifestyle. So
Yeah.
great,
So
great
he just
mentor there.
travels and does everything that's exciting in life.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
That's nice.
Um, but yeah, so basically looked around at a few different courses, didn't realize how expensive they were, and then didn't know what I wanted to do, whether it was wholesale. I thought I wanted to flip. I was like, oh yeah, flipping's cool. I've seen HGTV. That's awesome. Which led me to Homeschooled by Tarek, which is Tarek El Musa, Flip with Tarek. He's been on HGTV for years now. But he launched a whole mentorship program. So I had lived in Charleston now for 6 months with my girlfriend, and I had like 11K in the account, and the course was 10K, paying rent, living on our own for the first time, electric bills, car payments, all that stuff. And I said, you know what, screw it. Took a leap of faith, paid for the course. Then I was splitting time between, I'd recruit from 8 to 5 a day, get home, walk the dog, cook dinner. Then from 8 to 11 p.m., I was just grinding resource videos, all those real estate investment videos, all the trainings and all that stuff. And then they basically set you up to essentially run your own business. So, they launch your LLC out of Wyoming, tax haven state. They really do look out for you there. Have a business consultant, all these marketing trends. They advised me to do direct mail. Obviously, I had a limited budget, about like $400 a month. So you can imagine how far that went in try to market to
And 40
direct to
pieces a
seller.
month.
Yeah, yeah.
40
So
pieces a month.
obviously, and that's just delayed gratification too with that marketing source. So that obviously nothing came to fruition there. Developed a good foundation. Had never really made an offer. Had never really even like talked to a seller or anything like that. But had a good foundation. I knew how to comp. I knew how to, I knew what it was that I wanted to do. I just hadn't done it yet. So
Mhm.
Steve said, hey, go find a local investor in your market, someone that is flipping or wholesaling, because what you want to learn is to how to go to direct to seller and how to find these off market properties and essentially find the deals, right? So that's what I did, and went to my local RIA meetup, met my current boss now, Nate Hirschberg, who at the time was flipping. Him and his partner were flipping about 70 to 80 houses a year, doing the virtual flip model throughout the Southeast, with the exception of Nashville, and they were just absolutely killing it. So took the leap of faith, went to start working with them. Luckily, I did have somewhat of a base. Obviously, most of these roles are commission based only as a lead manager or anything. So, started as a lead manager with them, put my 2 weeks in, started with them. And then my first week, that Friday, they announced to the team that they were splitting up. And I was like, oh my God, I just left my job. And now these guys are splitting up. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Long story short, Nate ended up taking me onto his team, and then we just started from the ground up. It was just he and I. I was probably 30 days into a lead manager role. He started his new company, all new marketing, everything was brand new. So um, I was expected to close, 45 days in, started closing, started making offers, and really just hit the ground running. He would kind of just give me opportunities, and I take advantage of that and prove to him that I was learning what he was training me on and implementing it. And then for those first probably 6 to 7 months of us starting Stag, we were doing about 3 to 5 deals a month. We were flipping a lot, so I was basically just doing acquisitions, finding the off market deal, making the offer, getting it, and then he handled everything there, flipped it and whatnot. And then rates hit the roof about a year ago. Yeah, last spring, we lost a good bit of money on 3 flips on the same street. So we said, all right, let's dial it back now. Let's start wholesaling. Let's get the capital back, and go from there.
Mhm.
Started wholesaling a lot, and at that point, I was doing acquisitions and dispositions. So I was on, and he said, "Hey, you want to earn double commissions by dispoing these deals? Because we do need a dispo manager." And I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. I get to learn dispositions and I get an extra 10%. Why the heck not? So started doing that, dude. My life was crazy, working like 13, 14 hours a day. I loved it because I was learning a lot and I was making a lot. So it was well worth it to me. But dude, looking back now, I can't believe that I was doing that. It was like, holy shit, I'm running a full launch control account. I got 2 cold callers feeding me leads, not doing any follow up basically because I just didn't have time to. And then every time I'm dispoing a deal, nothing's happening in acquisition, so then deal flow falls. And
Yeah.
then that basically just developed a lot of bad things. Obviously, lead gen wasn't being accompanied for, and then dispo, I was just taking the first offer I would get. It's like, all right, boom, 10K, that's fine. Oh, 5K, that's fine. Hey, as long as we can move it, right? It's a deal, whatever, whatever. So
Mhm.
that took our average fee. I think it was like 12,500, which is pretty dang low.
Mhm.
Um, since then, I ended up did hiring an acquisitions manager who was a good buddy of mine. He's still working with us. He's been killing it, which allowed me to kind of focus more on dispo. When I did start, we were just wholesaling. We weren't doing any MLS strategy or anything like that. So, um, did start getting our fee up a little bit because I had more time to work those. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened there, and still there with
So
them.
yeah, I was gonna. So basically, okay. So that's pretty insane. Okay, so you quit your job and then go and work with these guys to take what sounds like a commission only role, maybe a small base if they did that. And they said, "All right, it's a clean split. We're shutting down the company." That's pretty
Exactly,
crazy. Okay,
and it was
so
my first week.
what in your first week?
Hmm.
And at this point, you never made an offer before to a seller, and like you're expected to go and close deals.
Dude, I was
That's
given an
insane.
Excel sheet of 40,000 records, and I was just told to call it off a single line dialer, not even a multi line dialer.
Dude, that's okay. So that's pretty insane. So when you guys like restarted this business, because you were basically there from like inception for this next one, what was like the like you literally just given the list and said, "Hey, make some deals happen," basically, and that was kind of like the.
Yeah, that's how I started when they were partners, and then stopped. They split, and then I had launch control, so started running launch control, and then
Mhm,
had two cold colors as well. So I was the one managing launch control though. I was sending the batches, I was filtering the responses, doing
mhm.
all that.
Yeah, you were hustling for sure.
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
That's wild. So okay, so I think the common thing that I've heard that you've mentioned like 3 or 4 times throughout the story is that you did this to basically just learn and acquire new skills. Like when Nate asked you, said, "Hey, do you want to run dispo like and make double commission?" You're like, "Well, one, I can earn more money, but two, I can just like learn this skill." I think that's a mindset shift that most people don't actually have. And talk to me a little bit about like what like why like how did you like come up and like think like that's the way I want to perceive these opportunities versus just be like I just want to make money.
yeah. No, definitely. And it was I think this was from Rich Porta, but I think it's formal education makes an individual a living, but self education and action will make an individual a fortune. So that quote, it's been written on my. I have a post it right here with that. So just taking advantage of every opportunity that's given to you. And that led me to doing all transaction coordination too, right? Because I was in contact with the seller, was in contact with the buyer. I knew everything that was going on. So why don't I just take 5 minutes and type up this email? And then you know how
Hmm.
TC goes. One deal is 2 minutes, one deal is fucking 4 days.
Yeah, literally. You never know you never know what's gonna happen on somebody else, dude.
Yeah. And
What
dude, just
what
like
go ahead.
just the excitement of learning something new. It's easy to, you keep doing the same thing. I mean, that's the definition of going crazy, right? Is doing the same thing
Mhm,
over and over again and expecting a different result. So just keeping things different, keeping yourself, just learning new things and taking on new challenges and accomplishing those new challenges, because the true meaning to happiness is, I believe it's growth and development, or
mhm,
growth and fulfillment is what makes you happy. So
for sure. Yeah, that's definitely true. Um, so what talk me through the first like part of the business. So like you guys are obviously like pretty much just it's just being bootstrapped at this point and like you guys are buying houses, flipping, all this kind of stuff. When you guys like what was the conversation like what was it pretty dire like after the flips like when the market corrected and the flips the prices dropped and all that kind of stuff? It's like how did you guys handle that pivot from flipping to wholesale?
yeah, so it was those 3 properties. It was in Myrtle Beach on Susan Lane.
Hmm.
One we lost, and we bought them from 3 different sellers too, which was crazy.
That's real.
One we lost like 40, the other one we lost 60, and the other one we lost 30. And it was slow bleeding, because it was like, do we take it as a rental or do we just cut our losses? What do we do? What do we do? Ended up just cutting our losses, and then we still had like 4 more flips finishing up that were gonna be listed as well in other markets, and those
Hmm.
just sat and sat and sat. And we broke even on all 3 of those, maybe made like 2 to 3 grand on it, but we
Hmm.
didn't make the 40 grand that we did make on it. So, um,
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, just finished. Obviously, saw our flips through that we had in progress, and then everything we did have under contract. We were just assigning straight off market assigning using Investor Lift, and that was just to get capital back up and running. And really just hiring an acquisitions man, hiring someone else in acquisitions, a lead manager, to give me back some of my time to start to
Hmm.
dispo those deals.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's like that must have been insane. That time in the market was extremely eye opening. Um, did you take like what? Obviously, like I know you're like working for Nate in that situation, but like from the outside looking in, on your perspective, like seeing the way the business worked and all that kind of stuff, like what lessons did you learn just about business, like being a part of that experience?
Yeah, I mean, dude, everyone's got a plan till you get punched in the face, right? I mean, I had never seen. I mean, I had been with them at that point probably 7, 8 months, and
Mhm,
we had never lost a deal. All our numbers were, we were selling over ask. We were projected to make 40, we'd make 50, or we projected to make 50, we'd make 45. Like, it was never like we're gonna lose a lot of money on this. So just understanding, and that's like came down to the line when, like, I was considering partnership with him. It was like, yeah, you do got to think about, hey, if we go and lose, 40K on a flip, and we're 50-50 partners, you got to come to the closing table with 20 grand. Is that something you want to
Hmm.
do? I'm like, no. So just understanding the risk and the reward and what overhead is and how quickly something can turn, that's way out of your control. I understand if we overlook a foundation issue or termite damage or anything like that and lose money. But
Hmm.
when, our scope of work is executed, our contractor does a great job and it's in the market's hands to determine, what happens with the deal. That's the craziest part. And that's just, underwriting your deal super conservatively. Since then, I mean, we underwrite our deals for, minimum 6 to 8 months holding cost when we used to do about 3.5, 4 months.
Hmm. Yeah, which is actually kind of crazy to think about. 3 months holding costs on a flip. That's wild.
Yeah. They
Like,
were turning and burning them, and it's all middle income, no
yeah,
reno over 55K.
yeah, but you can usually get that done in like, what, 4 to 6 weeks. So nothing too
Mhm.
crazy there. That's that. Yeah, dude. When the market turned, a lot of people got caught. Like as Buffett says, it's like when the market turns, you see who's swimming naked,
Mhm.
or when the tide goes out, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's. I know a lot of people in California lost like multiple six figures on like single projects,
Oh,
um,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
on like these
People
two
people
million
went
dollar
bankrupt.
builds. Yeah, a lot of people in San Diego. I was talking to one of my buddies, and out of the 10 competitors they had, and because it happened June 2022, the 10 competitors they had, only them and one other guy didn't go bankrupt.
Wow.
Yeah, because San
And
Diego got hit
he
hard.
was probably damn close to it.
I don't necessarily. They actually, based on my conversation with them, they actually only lost money 1 month, and they they're really good operators. They were like already knew it was going to happen like in January. they, they
Yeah.
were they were really they were way ahead of the curve. Um, they'll do like 40 million this year. So
Jesus
I think,
Christ.
yeah, I know it's pretty crazy actually. But long story short, yeah, dude, when stuff that's out of your control happens, it's pretty eye opening. It makes you. It's kind of like swimming in the ocean and like having the current just take you out, and you're like I can't really control this, and it's just feeling so helpless. So it's a pretty interesting feeling. But anyways, like, how did you guys bounce back from that? Because obviously, that was a pretty, you had to start wholesaling. You started doing small assignment fees. You guys brought on an acquisition manager. But what was the bounce back path from that?
Yeah, so bounce back path from that. I mean, I was new to strictly wholesaling, right? I liked it better because I was seeing my commissions in 30 to 45 days instead of
Mm-hmm.
4 to 8 months. But I mean, we doubled down on our marketing, pulled some more niche lists, kind of decided to go deeper in our better markets instead of
Mm-hmm.
just kind of going like just scraping the service with absentee owner and high equity basically. So basically did that and then hired the lead manager, promoted him to acquisitions manager, which allowed me to make more time in dispo. And then that's when we were consistently, between 50 and 60K a month, averaging strictly wholesale. And then as of probably a year ago now, yeah, after the summer of 22, we did start cherry picking some of our flips. So we would just cherry pick the home runs, the cosmetic rehabs that don't need a roof, don't need an HVAC. That's, it would
Yeah.
be a 40K fee, but if we flip it, we'll make 80 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
So that allowed us to get more capital, up and running sooner. We were never in the red or anything like that. It definitely hurt, but we were still in a good place business wise. And then I just hired out acquisitions. I went through a few lead managers and I was just hiring based off experience. Like people that were agents weren't making any money. Some people that had real estate experience, but not wholesaling real estate experience.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was like three guys. They all dwindled out. They just didn't have the hustle mentality. They didn't want to eat what they would kill, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started hiring based off attitude, and that has done me great. Now I have three guys in acquisitions. We're looking to bring on our fourth. Actually, are currently restructuring our whole acquisitions department to only having closers and trying to automate that lead manager role through drip campaigns and one follow-up specialist. So that'll be interesting. And then hired a full-time dispo manager. Well, I guess I'm leaving this part out, but I was bumped to COO. So built out acquisitions. That was first, and then built out dispositions, hired a full-time dispo guy, trained him up. He's up and running. He's 19. He's absolutely killing it. Just one of those kids that just gets it and just wants to do well. So he's been
He's
killing it.
19 and running dispo. That's wild.
Yeah, yeah, he's talking to agents, he's doing all our MLS listings, and he gets it. So,
Good
props
for
to
him.
him.
That's
But
sick. So,
then
so
also,
yeah, before you go into like getting bumped to COO, so obviously like you're doing the hiring, so you're bumped to COO, and you're like responsible for running the whole entire company. When you say like you're hiring off attitude for like lead management and all this kind of stuff, like what kind of attitude are you looking for?
yeah, so I want a go getter. I want someone that is, no matter what happens, they're going to keep going because they understand what the end goal is. You know, if they make 120 calls in one day and they don't get a single lead from it, they're not worried about it, right? They're going to get back on the phone the next day and hit the phones even harder. Someone that's, self motivated, someone that, doesn't really care, just willing to bet on yourself essentially is really
Hmm.
the main thing. And someone that wants to learn, because in this business, you want to learn. No one wants to be a lead manager forever. No one wants to be
Hmm.
an acquisitions manager or a closer forever. So they need to be willing to learn and just be a go getter at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's most important. Like, one of the questions like we ask people is just like, what does your like past experience like day to day look like for your past jobs? And it's like because you hear questions from people, it's like how many calls do they have to make a day? And if you hear something like that, it's like probably an immediately red flag. It's like they probably are comfortable with making like 30, 40 calls. It's like, no, dude, you're gonna be making like 150 a day. You're just gonna
Hmm.
be sitting here clicking all day and waiting for someone to answer, and you're gonna talk to them, and you're just gonna do that again and again and
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 then
again.
eventually they get their first deal and they're like, oh, they get their first commission check. It's like, whoa, all that calling, I finally got money for it. Awesome. Now this makes sense. Then they just get the motivation. And then most of the time they kind of take off from there.
Yeah, how long are you seeing like your team like taking to get like ramped up? I guess like for either an acquisitions person, since you guys brought on three most recently. I
Yeah.
know that's like what most people struggle with hiring.
Yeah, so for all those people, we started them as lead manager. Basically, I would just put them in our pond, our cold leads, long term follow up, things like that. We're on a drip, but just have them go call in there, get experience on the phone. I usually do like a 30, 60, 90. And then after the 90 day, if we did want to keep them, most of the time we would make them an acquisition specialist or agent so that they could start making soft offers,
Hmm.
just getting experience there. But yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time training them. I've done the part where, oh, hey, I've paid for this training platform. Just go log in and watch the videos. I mean, that works for some people, but a lot of people, you do need that one-on-one interaction, a lot of role play, a lot of call recordings, a lot of
Hmm.
objection handling and all that stuff. So, I mean, it's like anything, right? You get what you put into it.
Yeah, yeah, that's every time someone. Well, not every time, but a lot of times when I see people saying that, hey, this isn't working for me, and you ask them like what they're doing, typically people are doing the right things. They just do it like 10% as much as they need to do it. It's like Hermosi's
Mhm.
like most people just need to work harder, and then you'll get better results. And it's like you can give people a course like to start them, but then like you still need to meet with them like on a daily basis and role play. Like what are like how are these people going to learn? Like they're not, not everyone is just this high achieving guy who's going to listen to every single sales call they've ever done and like dissect it like a surgeon, you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah. So how did that come natural to you training salespeople?
It definitely was a big adjustment. Like when I moved to the COO role and I was like not making calls all day, like it was a big change for me because you're an operator, right? You're making sure everyone has what they need to perform, and you're making sure that everything's closing on time and it's going to get funded and the buyers in, the sellers in. All it's a lot where like my previously I was just grounding the phones. I was on the phone all day, whether it was acquisitions or dispositions. So I knew exactly what I needed to do, where when you become an operator, it's like you have the feeling where there's always something that you can be doing, right? So you just need to prioritize what's most important and where you're going to get your highest return on your time.
How do you do that? How do you prioritize your time?
Yeah, so I mean, everything I do, I get from you, like the CEO management video you did. I
Uh-huh.
do I do that. I pretty much try to use that to the T, prioritizing everything, crossing everything off, anything remaining, moving to the next day. If it's still remaining after 3 to 4 days, it's probably not important.
Hmm.
And meeting and routinely training is one of the biggest things as well that I learned from you. I used to just onboard my guys, train them, get them going, and then all right, go do your thing. Now we're
Hmm.
training twice a week, which we're seeing a huge return on. But
That's good.
just managing my time, I mean, it's real estate. You're going to work whenever. If a seller wants to talk at 7 a.m. or 10 p.m. at night, you're going to do it. So
Yeah.
that also just, not everyone is meant to be in this business and willing to do what it takes to get the results that we're getting.
Yeah. Do you set those expectations with your acquisitions team?
Yeah, yeah, I do, and it's in their best interest as well, right? It's like, hey, man, if you've been working all week for this deal, if the guy needs to talk to you on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m., if you're hungover, just make the most of it, make the most of it that you can. If not, tell me to hop on the call, and I'm happy to do so.
Yeah. That's if you're hungover. I'm sure that sounds like it's happened before.
Oh yeah.
Where do you find your people? Are you hiring a lot of people from Myrtle Beach?
So Jake, he's like our director of acquisitions. I actually played lacrosse with him in college my freshman year. Hadn't
Okay.
talked to him for like 4 or 5 years because I transferred freshman year. Then he actually moved down here to Charleston too. We noticed we were both in the city, got dinner one night, told him what I was doing, thought it was interesting, got another dinner, told him more about it. He loved it. And then I sent him the course that I paid 10 grand for. And he was a prime example of he went through it, fucking studied the shit out of it, learned everything. I didn't have to do anything. He just got the bug and he was addicted to it and he wanted to learn and he wanted to do it. So
That's sick.
that's how I hired him. And then he went and worked for another guy for a little bit. And then it didn't work out there. Then that's when he joined us. Um, Another guy, Justin, was just a referral. I think his dad was an agent and his dad didn't want him to be an agent. So he was like, hey, try to find someone in wholesaling, in our local market and go that way. And then, yeah, the other two were referrals. I've never hired anyone in acquisitions off of a job post or anything. I have
Mhm.
done job posts, but most of the people I get, just not a fit at
Yeah.
all.
It's kind of, yeah, it's definitely like a lot more people to like, you got to interview like 20 people through the process to like have one person who's like pretty good. Maybe a couple people, but
And I
it's
think
definitely,
that pre-existing connection is super important too, because if someone that you do truly respect and someone that like you've done business with and like and trust, if they're putting their name on the line to refer someone, there's a pretty good
Mhm.
chance they're going to work out. And you know what? Why not give them a chance?
It's the best way to hire, especially like early stages. Cause like, I mean, like if you don't have like, I'm sure like if you just immediately had your entire acquisitions team leave, you would be like, oh my God, like we're just back to square one. Like it's like when you have one acquisitions person, you're just like getting off the ground. The the problems that creates if that person leaves is just it just is horrible because then you have to go back to square one. So but if you have like because for us like we hired our first acquisition person as a friend of ours and we're like he's not leaving, like he's not going to leave like and leave us in a bad position, so it gives you like that base to kind of like grow off of as you're like bootstrapping the company to like make it self-sustainable, which
Yeah.
takes a while.
But that's a great point too. I didn't even think about that because anyone that I've only fired, I've never had anybody leave. Knock
uh-huh.
on wood. But I mean
Well,
that is a great point.
yeah, that's also a good testament to like culture. That if you never have people leave, and it's just people who get fired, that means like you're doing. It means people like the the culture of the company,
Yeah.
which is probably mainly right now. It's yourself, Nate, and some of the other key like members of the team, and it's probably just like a good old boys club, you know.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's like a frat house almost.
Yeah. How? Okay. This is some, my dog's like chewing up the bed right next to me. Um, how do you see the way like the company runs and like you're like man like if because like for me whenever we have like a team of like it was a smaller team of like 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people, and then like transitioning now to like having it running a team of like 30 or 32 or whatever it is, you have to like do things differently. But what's the culture like at the team? Like do you guys like have team meetings? Like is it just like a like what are you guys doing on a weekly basis for like meeting as a team and building that culture?
Yeah, so basically, I mean, culture-wise, our big thing was we were virtual for probably the first 15 months. We got an office like 2 to maybe even 3 months ago.
Hmm.
So our initial culture was, hey, we wanna hire, self-motivated individuals, go-getters that can essentially have the freedom to work wherever they want, when they
Hmm.
want, but still get what they need to get done, hit their goals and, perform from Japan, wherever you want to be, right? If it's in a different state, if it's in a different country, you do have the power to do that. And that was good
Hmm.
for a while, but it wasn't until like I decided, hey, we are going to scale this. I am going to build a true sales team here. So I don't want to take, a separate 2 to 3 hours, each week to listen to call recordings. Let me get an office, train them in person, and really just create that sales atmosphere where they're bouncing off each other, kind of more competitive, having everyone in one room. I can overhear their calls. I can do takeover calls. I can do everything like that. And that's been a huge, huge difference. We also implemented a lot at one time. And, that's why we've seen such a drastic increase in revenue. But that's pretty much our culture, and we're very meeting wise. I meet with the acquisitions guys Mondays. Monday mornings we do a call recording training, and
Hmm.
then Wednesday mornings we'll just do a topic of choice. We'll do, okay, how to identify a sub two deal, how to underwrite an owner financing deal, objections, just anything. If someone has a really weird lead or a weird situation, we'll go over that and we'll talk about it. We also have
Hmm.
an objection ball where, we have a volleyball with objections written all over it, and you throw it around, and whatever objection you get, you then have to role play, which is
That's
pretty
pretty
cool.
sweet.
So,
So
yeah.
yeah, would you say like an office has been like, what's the impact that having an office has made for the business?
I think just everyone. I've never had an issue with my guys hitting their KPIs. I think that it's more beneficial to my newer guys starting out, getting to hear Jake's calls, getting to hear me on the phone, getting to hear other people and how they're kind of, how they've developed their own script and how they're not following the script almost. So
Hmm.
kind of just shortening that learning curve and, not having to be called for a question. They can just come knock on my door and I'm right there for them.
Yeah, that's. I always could imagine having a sales team in person would be significantly easier than running it over like a virtual platform.
Yeah.
Just
I'll be honest. Like I'm remote. I'm working for. This is my home office right now. I
uh-huh.
still we do like a hybrid. We'll do 3 days in office: Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. But like two of my guys, they want to go in office every day. They love it. Maybe because they don't have a good work at home setup, but they
Yeah.
love the office. And but I still love being remote. Honestly, I can get my stuff done anywhere.
My problem is if I was to be in an office, I would do nothing because I just like to talk to like everyone, and
Yeah,
we'll just like bullshit around for a couple hours, and I'll be like, I probably should work.
you got to be locked in your room.
Yeah, literally. I think that's like also one of the things too is like we've never had an office, so it's like we've just kind of been like virtual home office that kind of situation. So if you go from one extreme to the other, you're gonna be like, oh, this is great. Like everyone's together, we're talking, we're having fun. You get to throw ideas out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so I mean, I think there's definitely pros. We like to meet quarterly or like go fly out to people's houses and like or not houses, but fly out to people's cities and like do meetups and that kind of stuff. So that's
Oh,
definitely
that's pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, what's like kind of the what's kind of the so yeah, so okay, at this point like we've been talking about a bunch of different stuff. But you guys went from doing, 50, $60,000 a month in wholesale. You had some pretty big months where, I think you said this month you guys are going to do, or last month you did 150, and the month before you did 225. I don't know what you have this month, but that's a pretty substantial increase. I mean, that's like, at least 3 to 4x. So what was kind of, and you foreshadowed, you said we implemented a ton of new things at one time. Just like talk to me, like what were the biggest three levers you guys implemented to go from 60K a month to, 150 to 200K a month?
So and that's like we didn't increase any marketing or any lead gen too, which is like the coolest thing. So basically what we did, and I know that this isn't a testimonial for you or for Level Up, but it all, I y'all are responsible for a lot of the success. Just what I learned from y'all and what I did implement from, being in Denver and talking to everybody and all that stuff. But main thing, like just starting basics, was just structure. I had two sales guys. They didn't even have daily KPIs. They didn't have a certain contract or offer count or call time per day. They had no KPIs, absolutely nothing. It was just, hey, new lead comes in, call, follow up, put them on a drip, check in until you get an answer, motivation, XYZ. It was very, very, very
Helpful.
simple.
Yeah.
So implementing structure and KPIs and just accountability, implementing that stoplight report was super, super crucial. And they never had an issue hitting their numbers, but now it's, reverse engineering your goals. Okay, if we want to get 5 deals, five contracts a month, we need to make X amount of calls, X amount of offers to offers accepted to close deals, etc. So that just gave me a really big perspective and made me feel like I was now running a business and I knew what I could
Mhm.
expect. The other thing was routine training, like I mentioned, training them routinely, viewing call recordings and going over that stuff. Because if you're not consistently training, you're dying.
Yeah.
Um, so that was my biggest thing with like acquisitions and having them like increasing their performance and just their knowledge.
Mhm.
And then the biggest thing that allowed us to like our average fee was 15K and now it's about 26 to 28K. And this is all since Denver, since I was
Mhm.
out there in Denver with you guys. And that was when,
Crazy.
Novation's MLS strategy, we had analysis paralysis. I thought it was so hard. I thought it was impossible to get that attorney in fact signed. I thought it was so hard to list it on the market. I thought it was illegal and all this stuff. Went to Denver. You're like, dude, you guys are just, you're missing out on so much opportunity. And then I get back, I list 3 properties on the market and it was like a 30K, a 40K, and a 55K. It was like, oh my God. And the best part about that, it was 7611 Sarah Lane in Knoxville, Tennessee. I did what I usually do, right? Sent it out on Investor Lift. I got 5, 6 buyers through there. The best offer I got was about 2K above my asking. So it was a 2K fee. And then I
Wow.
went to Denver and then I was like, let me see if I get an extension because I'm going to list this. I listed it and that's the one we made the 55 on.
Bro, really?
Yeah. And that was like
That's
what I would have done. I would have taken that 2K fee or tried for a reduction and risked the deal.
dude, that's insane. Oh my god. You went 2K to 55K. I guess
Mm-hmm.
like every market's a little different and a lot of property like there's some as you do it more too, some properties you're just like this is such a good MLS deal because or like a wholesale or whatever because it's like no investor's going to buy it because it's like a little too high priced. It's not really great because it's not really a great rental. It doesn't really need a rehab. It's like there's not like meat on the bone for them to add value. So it's like the only way to like really sell this thing is to put on MLS. And like
Mm-hmm.
those are the I'm sure that was probably like similar to like what this property was if I had to guess. Um, just good
Exactly.
bones, solid house, and then made a fat rip on it. That's sweet. Yeah, it's funny you said that though. Like from like 50 to like 100K per month. Literally the two biggest things that I think you can do outside of like delegating acquisitions and TC is just putting like a business operating system in place and like structuring the team to where you have like consistent sales management and training. Like those are the two
Exactly.
things, which is literally all you guys did, and you added the MLS strategy, but pretty much was the impact for you guys to go
Yeah.
from.
The other huge thing was the workshop or I guess the activity we did in Denver, what that daily optimizer, where
Mm-hmm.
basically list every activity you do, how long you do it for, and if what how much revenue that generates. I got 22 hours back in my week, hired those people when I got back, and then I started moving on to bigger and better things that's going to generate more revenue for the company, which is hiring and increasing marketing channels.
Dude, that's sick. I actually need to do that again too. The daily
That's what
optimizer is legit. It's legit. I'm glad that dude 22 hours a week is that's sick. What'd you delegate?
data, TC, Dispo, um, then agent outreach was kind of something that I was, thanks to Ray, what I was trying to do.
Mhm.
Yeah, those 4 main things were huge. Mainly data was big, and TC was huge, and also Dispo. I mean, Dispo can
Yeah.
be very quick or very, very time consuming.
So did you basically so basically it sounds like you were kind of still holding on to like being in the business and it kind of just helped you realize like hey, my job is to operate the business not to work in the business and kind
Hmm.
of just like elevate yourself on top. Is basically what that makes sense. I had the same issues whenever we first like scaled out of the business. It's like you're still kind of like doing
It's
everything.
hard to let go because you don't
It
want to.
is.
You don't. I mean, I'm a control freak by nature, so it's like I need to just make sure I'm not risking this 40K deal falling through. So I'm going to make sure that they're doing everything that they need to do. Where that's just doing double time. If they are doing it right, or sometimes you do need to let them learn from their mistakes so it doesn't happen again.
That's a fantastic point because I think a lot of people are control freaks. How do you deal with your natural bias of being a control freak? Like, how do you handle that?
I um I just it kind of came to a point where I was like, "What am I doing?" I like got back. I was like, it was a day, just a normal day, right? And I was just like, I just don't feel fulfilled right now. Like I was busy all day. I was running around with my head cut off all day, but like I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel like I got anything done. Then I go
Hmm.
back and I look. I'm like, all right, what did I do from this hour, this hour, this hour? I went by the hour, and it was like everything I was doing was just holding my new employees' hands. Making sure. Spent 2 hours listening to call recordings. Spent an hour, putting out this fire, putting out that fire, things along those lines. And it's like, all right, let me just film Loom videos of how to fill out an addendum, how to fill out an assignment of contract, what to say to buyers, what to say to sellers about a walkthrough, and then just giving that to them, having them implement it, doing 2 to 3 role plays, then just letting them do it.
Yeah. And just knowing that, and then just having like checks and balances, knowing they're going to do it right. And like, yeah, it's always, it's like, I think you struggle with that no matter what, because there's always going to be a degree of you being concerned that no one's going to care as much as you, and like no one's going to be able to do it as well as you do. And like to a degree, that's also true. But also to a degree, if you hire someone like really, really good, like, dude, there's like a lot of things that like I have no idea how they work because you just hired someone good to do it, and then it gets done
Mm-hmm.
really well. And that's like where you want to be. It's like I don't know. I remember specifically when we delegated the entire business away. There was like a day where I was just sitting there. I was like, dude, money's coming in. I have no idea how it's happening because I'm not doing any of this. I haven't touched a deal. I don't understand like basically anything that's happening. Things are just going and being done. I just feel useless. Like, what is my purpose? And like, it is like a weird feeling, man. It's a really weird feeling.
It is a weird feeling, and then you just need to you need to reinvest that time, right? And that's what it was. Chris Crone. I was actually listening to him last night. It was like, yeah, you need to delegate, but before you delegate, you need to know what you're gonna reinvest your time with. You need to know
Hmm.
what you're gonna fill that time with before you do delegate, or else you'll be lost, like but you and I were.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that. I don't think it was Chris Cohn. It was someone. It was someone at an event. But basically, they said the same thing. It's like, well, as soon as you delegate and you get 22 hours, like 20. Let's just say you get 20 hours freed up in a week. You build your next role. You build your next. Like you take that time and you allocate it effectively to the next project, and that could
Yeah,
even just be like figuring out what the next project is. Could be the first step.
that's what it was.
But yeah, that,
Delegate to elevate. That was his quote.
delegate to elevate. Yeah, dude. The one thing is too. I'd say the another thing I learned too is like this comes with like some experience, and I'll be curious to like talk to you about how this works too. But like as you delegate and elevate it, and you keep scaling, there's always going to be like the hardest part about it is when you have people in your team who you just know aren't quite good enough, but you like them a lot. And the mistake we made was we left some of those people in those roles for a little too long, and that is very expensive. So
Hmm.
that is I don't. It's just like thinking back to that moment. It's
Just all the profit you lost. And I've seen that. I've heard stories about that happening a lot with like in office sales teams where one guy has such a bad attitude that it rubs off on the rest of the team, and then
Mhm.
they fire that one guy and everyone else starts hitting the roofs.
Yeah, yeah. That's like the dude, there was a diagram. It was like 9 boxes in a square, so like 9 boxes. So it's A B C, or something like that. And basically, it's saying like A players with C attitudes you need to keep to basically make you a lot of money, so you can like replace them, because they're just gonna make the culture so toxic. Like you can't just keep someone because they're great. It's
Hmm.
all like based on like core values and culture, and you know, because yeah, that's a very true thing. And I've had it actually where I fired someone who was like just an underperformer, like maybe like a B or a B minus player with a good culture fit and like everything, probably just like B overall, but they're on an A team. And as soon as I fired them, I got thanked by a couple people like, "Hey, thanks for getting that person out of here." They were like, I had to help them so much, and it prevented me from making more calls or doing whatever. I was like, that to me was like extremely eye opening. I was like, wow, I did not really, you hear about it, but you never like
Hmm.
know it, like you actually know it. So
Yeah. And I mean, never that employee that said that to you. It's not like he's ever going to go to you on the side and say, "Hey, I really don't like this guy. Can you fire him?" He's never going to say that to you.
no, there's no way to like know that. Like there are some things you can do like every quarter like we did some of these surveys that kind of give you like a pulse on like what like it's anonymous, give you the pulse on like how each department's working and like what each sector of the business is kind of like. So like how's the culture? How's the way that we work together? And it's a lot of it's like looking up at leadership, like how's leadership doing? So you can get some stuff from that insights because it's like averages out once you have a bigger team, but you're right. You're never gonna actually like know that stuff until you just make the decision. And usually, dude, okay, Hermosi has the best quote for this of all time. Is if you're making, and I know I mentioned it, but if you're choosing between a hard and an easy choice, like if you're choosing between something hard and something easy, and you haven't done the easy thing, then you definitely need to do the hard thing because you had already done the easy thing. And like that's how I feel. Like, does that make sense? Because like if it's
Yeah.
easy to do the easy thing, but you haven't done it, that means your subconscious is telling you like you got to do the hard thing because, but you don't want to do it because you're kind of scared or whatever the objection
Oh,
is. So
interesting.
that's
Yeah,
like a easy thing I've used,
that's powerful.
which sucks, but it is what it is. Dude, what's your so obviously you've invested a bunch of in education. How is that and how has education impacted your trajectory and growth?
Yeah, I think tremendously. Whether it be just saving time on I mean, just every part of the business. I think most importantly is like the type of data you're going to pull, especially just with wholesaling, just the SOPs in general, and not. I mean, you're gonna mess up, right? You're gonna blow up some deals along the way. It's just a matter of how many you do blow up. A lot of things that a big issue that we had is when I did have my acquisitions guy on a contract per week goal, they were just locking up anything and everything. And then it gets over to me in Dispo, and I'm just wasting my time spinning my wheels trying to sell something over market value.
Hmm.
That was a big thing. But I mean, education in general, I think the most beneficial thing is, yeah, the resources and the knowledge that you do gain from it, obviously, that you implement and what makes you successful. But the relationships and the people that you meet is I think relationship capital, right? Your network is your net worth is super valuable to me, and I'm a big proponent of that. And just be like when launch control went right, I had 3 people text me, I texted 4 guys, and everyone's like, all right, yeah, this is what we're gonna do. This is what I found out. This is what I found out, and just kind of cutting that learning curve. Whereas if you're by yourself and no one knows what you're struggling with, you're the only one that's gonna you know come up with a solution where, hey, he may have tried this, he may have tried this, oh, I did what you're planning on doing and it didn't work out for XYZ reasons, or oh, you're going to do this, great, do it this way instead. And you're just cutting your learning curve tremendously, saving years at a time and thousands of dollars by doing so.
Yeah, that's huge. I think the relationships thing is like, dude, Jesse Itzler has like the best thing I've ever done. It's like I basically list out all the people who I have like a relationship with, and like the last time I've talked to them, and then like basically just like steady like because for me, like whenever something goes wrong, it's like my tendency is just like to reach out to people and be like, hey, what are you doing about this? And like that's cool for like a relationship, and like that's how like a lot of it's that's why you have it, and that's why you have relationships, and that's the point of it for business. But I think like the piece that I missed for a while is just like just reaching out to people like randomly for no reason. The best
Mhm.
people I know like for relationships just like you know go like hit someone up and like send them something funny or just do random nice things for people or call them and just have a conversation about nothing and have no strings
Yeah,
attached, which that's for me like probably one of the hardest things to do. I have to be super intentional about doing that.
I agree too. Yeah, that's something, even just with like friends from growing up with, and I mean, especially business relationships as well, just having that personal connection rather than just a straight transactional relationship.
Hmm. I mean, some people like are transactional so it works and that's just like how it is, but a lot of people are very like more relationship driven and you know I definitely know that I'm less that way.
Yeah.
more on the introvert side, but I don't know. Okay, question. Do you think introvert, extrovert, like how much do you believe in that?
I believe, I mean, I do believe in it. I think that, it's not like a source of outgoingness. I think it's just your personality in general. It's like, what are you comfortable doing? Do you want to? Can you go talk to a random person just because you don't want to stand there by yourself, or are you comfortable standing by yourself and you don't want to be bothered by anybody? I mean, I understand both of it. I would say that I am more of an extrovert to an extent.
Yeah.
Um, but that's just this industry. I mean, you're talking to people all day, and it's a relationship business. So, I mean, you've done very well being an introvert in this business. So,
Appreciate that. That's like I surround myself with a bunch of extroverts. Surround
exactly.
yourself with a bunch of psychos. You like talking to people all the time. Even though, like, dude, I look at my calendar. I talk to people like 10 hours a day. So, like, I guess I'm pretty much an extrovert. So,
You like and that's like the introverts that like you would say, hey, I don't think I'm a complete introvert, right? Because you talk to people all day, but you're talking about something that you know very well, something that you enjoy, and something that you're passionate about. So therefore, that's what you want to talk about, where you don't want to go talk to, Joey Joe on the street about the Braves
Joey
game,
Joe.
or what's happening in the NFL or anything like that. Like, I don't really care
Yeah.
for those conversations.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not a big fan of that, dude. And plus, like the Broncos suck, and that's like where I live. It's like in Denver. They're horrible. So like, there's no reason. And you live in South Carolina. Y'all don't even have like sports teams, dude. Like, what's
Yeah,
up
I'm
with
in
that?
Charleston. I mean, I'm fishing, I'm golfing, or I'm boating. That's what I'm doing.
Boating, dude. You playing some Lonely Island out there on the boat?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Some nice chill tunes floating. I do a boat club, so it's like I can take out a pontoon boat, I could take out a center console, I could take out whatever I want. So
Oh, dude,
whatever boat
that's
we get, that determines what we do.
bro. Tell me you're balling without telling me you're balling. You're in the yacht club, dude.
Not a yacht, not yacht.
No boat club. That's if I lived on the beach, dude. You'd have to be in a boat club. I don't know what else you'd do.
hmm Yeah, it's awesome, dude. You don't have to clean the boat. You don't have to fill it up with gas. You don't have to do anything like that.
That's sick. That's sick. Okay. So before we finish up here, Devin, what's one hot take in business you have?
Yeah. So, and this isn't like a whole business thing. It's more of like a specific to our niche, real estate wholesaling masterminds. Because I'm a big proponent of masterminds, like you said. Invest in myself. I've seen a great return from it, and I will always continue to do that. But one thing that I was kind of thinking of is like, all right, I go to this mastermind as a COO now, right? I'm not making offers. I'm not doing dispo. I'm just operating everything, right? I have a sales manager and I have a dispo guy who I manage. So I go and I go through all this sales training, all this dispo training. I get all these really good nuggets and these really good scripts and just points and just all these great takeaways that in the meeting, I'm taking as many notes as I can, right? It's recorded, whatnot. And then going back and training my team on that. Obviously, that still does need to happen, but a mastermind, the idea is a mastermind specific to your employees, like someone like me, someone like you, are employees, somewhere where it would be more of a workshop, I guess, but somewhere that I can send my acquisitions manager. He'll be surrounded by other acquisitions managers. They can bounce ideas off each other, and then they can just get directly trained. Where what kind of what I've seen happen is, some operators will bring their acquisitions manager or their dispo manager to the mastermind, and then they start getting thoughts about, oh, I could go do this on my own. Oh, if that kid's doing that much, yeah, why can't I go do that? Kind of like that, because yeah, you're talking about the acquisition skills, the dispo skills, but you're also talking about it from an operator's level. Okay, this is my overhead, this is this, and this. So I think that a specific workshop to training a dispo manager, a transaction coordinator, an acquisitions manager, and a lead manager specific to their craft, it would be super beneficial for a lot of people.
That'd be pretty cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything like that. I know that there's some like sales trainers out there who like what Jeremy Miner. I don't think they have a mastermind, but that's like they teach salespeople. I wonder if they like. Do they have have you looked into that at all? Do they have a mastermind? I don't think they do.
It's basically just like workshops. I mean, not specific to like wholesaling or like direct to seller
Mhm.
marketing. Like there's a ton of sales stuff. I mean, the closest guy is going to be Steve Trang, just because he's
Yeah,
he's everything sales, but he started out in real estate sales, so he's the
that's
closest
true.
to it. But there's nothing where like, hey, I can tell my acquisitions manager, hey, hop on this Zoom once a week. You're going to learn
Mhm.
about. You're just going to be surrounded by a bunch of acquisitions guys, and you'll hear stories and you'll hear ideas, and take what you want from it.
Dude, that would be kind of cool. We should do that.
Let's do it.
We should do it. We could actually probably do that at Level Up. We'll talk about that offline
Yeah.
and see if
I
that
mean,
makes sense.
I think just like a weekly meeting, because like I'll have some of my I'll have my acquisitions manager sometimes hop on some of the level up calls,
Hmm.
um, but
But yeah, if you
those,
could have a call of like 30 or 40 like AMs or whatever, then dude, like the and they just everyone just like talks about like what's going on. It's like a round table. I think that could be really valuable because
Mhm.
one like like it's cool because okay, everyone's perception, like your perception of like what they're struggling with right now too is probably way different than like actually what they struggle with because you're not actually them and like you're not in
Mhm.
their shoes as much as you can try to be. You can't see the world from their view and the conversations and the objections and et cetera, but if you could like put all these guys in there, open them up and get everyone just to talk about like how they see the situation, then dude, I think like that would be sick. And on top of that, what I'm doing right now, what we're working on, is we're putting all the content we've ever had in Level Up, which is like, dude, I don't even know, like hundreds of hours, maybe thousands of hours, definitely thousands of hours of Zoom calls. And we're going to build this chat GPT model where anyone can search up anything in the model. So like if you did that for like sales, ops, et cetera, then like anyone could just like put like, here's my objection. And then I guarantee you chat GPT could just like build the perfect overcome.
Oh, definitely, dude. That's super powerful. Super. That's
That
the
could be
best way
pretty
to
sick.
leverage all those recordings.
Yeah. So anyways, so that's going to be coming soon. We're working on it right now.
That's I'm excited for that. And just a huge glossary. It's like, okay,
I am
I
too,
mean,
dude. I forget some stuff sometimes, you know. Like I just want to like search up, be like, yo, what would myself say? What would I say?
exactly. And that's like another good point back to what you were saying. Just like, you know, I can't see their perspective or know exactly what they're struggling with. And nor would, maybe someone as an employee, you may not want to go to your boss and, say, hey, this is what I'm having an issue with, or this is what I'm lacking confidence in. Whereas if they are talking about other people of their status, of their level, they're willing to open up more and they can get better advice that way.
Yeah, and I think there's like a. I think you also want to keep your image like really clean whenever you talk to your manager, like most people do. So it's like
Hmm.
they almost you almost like if you're performing and you're like kind of like flying on the radar, most people don't like want to be like more than that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's like obviously a select few who are going to be super vulnerable about their situation, but a lot of people, especially as you get bigger and it's like less like friends and more like just random people you meet, it's harder to get that vulnerability. Um, which is also,
Exactly.
dude, another thing too. That's when you become too good of friends with the people on your team. That's also a dangerous situation to be in too.
Yeah, you got to keep the two separate, but you also need to have a good enough culture where they can have fun. And that's one thing that I'm wanting to implement, which was from Ray and Aaron Keener. This something that they do a very good job of is having personal goals within their company for each of their employees. So yeah, I'm going to hold you accountable work wise, but I'm also going to hold you accountable, you know, personally, whether that's a fitness goal, a financial goal, or just a relationship goal, anything like that, where you kind of get the best of both worlds.
Hmm.
And then just like Ray was telling me, he had to do like 200 burpees on like a 110-degree day because he was 5 minutes late to the office 2 days. He's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I got to do it too.
dude, that's yeah. Ray Ray said if they show up like 1 minute late, they have to do like whatever he said, like 100 burpees or something like that,
Hmm.
which is insane. But I would really struggle with that because I'm like a 1 minute late kind of guy. Um, what we do on that topic actually is we do like on like a quarterly basis. We've done it like we do it like most of the time, not every quarter, but we'll kind of go through like, hey, what's your quarterly goals, and then like once a month, like when we have our team meeting, we'll like get everyone's like updates on that and like share like wins and all that kind of stuff in a personal thing, just like a stoplight report with the whole team. It's pretty powerful, honestly. People really get
Hmm.
behind it.
Yeah, and I even heard it's like it also helps you to keep them accountable work wise, right? Because if their goals, if they're not hitting their work KPIs, right, their numbers that they need to hit to make the money that they want to make, which is going to directly correlate to the goal that they want to hit. It's like, hey, I see you're not hitting your numbers over here. Are you still wanting to buy that new car or buy that house for your family? It's like, well, what's happening here? They're not balancing off. So how can I help you?
Yeah, dude, that's such a good, such a powerful frame to come in from. Like Layla Hermosi's, what she says is basically like, hey, it's not about having awkward conversations. It's about showing them the discrepancies between their goals and their reality, and then just asking them like, what can I do to help you bridge this gap? And then that's such an easy frame, but it's impossible if you don't ever set goals
Yeah, and
or track
especially like if
KPIs.
they've had most of the time, I mean, hopefully the people have had a previous job or previous boss. Once they feel that from you as the boss, and they feel that with working for you and with you, they're going to be loyal to you forever as long as you keep that
Hmm.
up.
Yeah, because they're like, wow, Devin really cares about me. You know, if someone asks them about the job, like, oh yeah, it's been a tough couple months, but I really love like the people I work with, and I think I heard this. I could be misquoting, but I'm pretty sure Layla and Alex basically talk about having the best talent and that they like really good talent come and work for them for like cheap prices because of the stature and the status and the culture that they have.
Yeah, That's like what I was when I was going through. I was going through just like kind of restructuring acquisitions and compensations and stuff, right? And a good mentor down here, Kelly Garrett, she owns Rehab Wallet, just a big hard money lending company. But she was saying, people come for the compensation, but they stay for the culture. If the culture is there, they don't need the raise. They can justify the raise because they'll go to the other company that's going to pay them 5K more, and the culture is going to be crap, and they're going to call you back in 2 weeks.
Yep, 100%, dude. Happens all the time. Happens. I've seen that from talking to people in the corporate world. That happens quite often, which is crazy. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, dude, culture is literally everything. That's why you've also never had someone leave and quit, is because the culture is clearly good. Which I think that, like people, like as you get bigger and you have like a much bigger company, like there's a process like building culture. But in general, man, it's like just don't be a dick. Like just
Hmm.
be fun and like care about people that are on your team. And if you have less than 15 people on your team and you do that, then like your culture is going to be fantastic and everyone's going to love being there and working for you. As long as like you keep things competitive, let them know like the expectations up front, never blindside people, and then you care about them, like people are going to love it.
Yeah. How do you reward your employees remotely? Just like gift cards, meetings, or
Yeah, like I guess there's a bunch of different ways. So like we'll do like sales competitions. So like for example, like when we just ran was like, we just did this for like level up. It's like, okay, so over like the next 2 weeks, whoever closes the most, and like new revenue, then you get like a dinner for two paid on us, which is like, it's like a nice dinner, $200, whatever it is.
yeah.
But it's like that's a fantastic reward. That's not super monetary, but it's also like very like high value. Like the value discrepancy, the cost is here, the value is here. Really high value, and the output is usually a little bit higher too. But on a normal scale, like we do some mixtures of like competitions internally. We don't do a lot of like monetary ones, but what we do is every year we have like what we call the ferocities, which is like obviously I think everyone gets like the Grammys or whatever. And so we
Hmm.
have like basically the core, for each of our core values, we have like who's the winner for the core value, who's Mr. and Mrs. Ferocity, um, who's like the MVP of like whatever departments, and then like the leadership team, like who's the most highly contributed person. So we're rewarding mostly on core values, and then like hard work basically are the two things we're rewarding people on and grading on. Because if you praise hard work, then you're going to get more hard work, which hard work is great. And if you praise on core values, then like you're going to get more core values. So it's positive reinforcement on those things. And then also it's like creates like a really fun environment where people get to come up and give like a little mini speech after they win. Dude, like a lot of times on those calls, like people are crying. Like it's a very emotional thing. Like it's pretty cool actually. Like it's a really cool experience. Um, and it's just like a random thing that we created like a few years ago. Just knocked off the Grammys. But yeah, so that's the big one. And I think on the weekly meetings too, like we do it. So every week we have a team meeting for like virtual, and where we really go deep on something to like get to know the whole team from like a deeper perspective. So like it's kind of evolved over time, and we started just having the team meetings where everyone would go around and say like two positive things and one thing they're struggling on that like in a business way when it's like a small group, and it'd be more like a you know kind of like a team meeting, coaching everyone would kind of like mastermind together. Um, then like it turned into like a little bit bigger group, and it just went like tell us about like one good thing for everyone, and we'll talk and like we'll ask questions about it. Then it turned into like, okay, we're gonna have a topic. So maybe it was like everyone would be responsible for a topic each day when our team was like maybe 15 to 20. So for example, like one would be like, all right, the world's ending, it's a zombie apocalypse, who's the two other people on the team that you're taking into battle and why? Like that would be like an example of something. And that would be one we did that was super great. It built a lot of camaraderie. And then now that teams like around like 30, we'll do like something similar, but we'll do it in like breakout rooms. And then we'll basically have like a brief conversation, like recognizing anyone who's doing good stuff, some things we're working on the week. And then we'll break out to like a topic in groups of like, whatever, 5, 6
Hmm.
people, talk about it there. And then everyone will come back, and the people from those pods will basically bring back like their favorite thing for the topic. And then we'll talk about it and go deeper. And then that's typically how we do it. So it's like, are we rewarding people on a, um, monetary basis, no, but like on a fulfillment and like a excitement basis, I feel like people are getting to know everyone, and it's like a very rewarding experience. Um, so that's how we build culture from like a more tactical perspective.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Like when I was in the corporate job, like we did do stuff like that, and it actually was virtual. So that kind of reminded me of that. Where yeah, we have 10 employees right now, but five are in office and five are offshore. So
Hmm.
building culture and camaraderie with the VAs is definitely something that I want to start doing
Yeah,
virtually,
we also
obviously.
would play like online games. So like I think you play Scriblio, dude. That you talk about having some good times. Scriblio with the team is hilarious. It's like an online game where people draw. It's like Pictionary. You draw something, and then everyone has to guess what it is. Um, that's an entertaining game. Uh, but yeah, so
Scriblio, I'm on it. Got
do it, dude. Do it.
it.
Well, Devin, man, I appreciate you coming on here. This was fun getting to chat. Um, is there anything that you would say to someone who's maybe looking to get into real estate? Maybe they're doing real estate and they're just kind of like stuck in their business. I guess let's do that one. Let's just say that you're talking to someone who's stuck in their business. Maybe it's 15 to 50, 60K per month. Kind of like, what's your thoughts on the steps they should take?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the most important thing is just identifying what you want. If you want to, I mean, dude, making 50 to 60K a month in a wholesale app, as long as you are a solopreneur to an extent, that's a good income. But your life's going to be miserable. So identifying what you want, the lifestyle that you want to live within a certain period of time, then reverse engineering those goals. And to do that, you're gonna have to put money out there. You're gonna have to invest in yourself and not even take a leap of faith, but just invest in yourself, and you're going to see the return there. So don't be scared to pay for a mentorship or pay for a course or anything like that. It's going to help you as long as you do implement. It's going to make you have some skin in the game. They're not absurdly expensive. Yeah, 10 grand is a lot to a lot of people, but in this business, that's should be below your minimum fee. So if you could account for one deal of the whole year to an educational platform, it's going to give you probably hopefully 20 to 30 more deals at a higher rate. So don't be scared to invest in yourself and just be an open book. No one can help you with problems that you have if they don't know about it. So if you have problems, voice those problems, talk to people, and that's how you're going to get help.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, that's the last one is probably the hardest one for a lot of people. Just like to ask for help because everyone is an entrepreneur and has done it all on their own to this point. And to get to the next level, usually you have to do different things than you did to get to the current spot you're in, and that is probably the biggest
Exactly.
one. So can't do this on your own. Rely on great people. Love it, dude. Devin, appreciate you, bro, and we will talk to you guys soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Chandler.